Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about this situation that went down in the city of Baltimore, where children who are described repeatedly as very small, in and around age 10 to 12, decided that it would be appropriate to harass a mother, and then when another mother with the baby in a stroller confronted them about it, they chased her into a store, threw a bottle at her, and there's community outrage not only on behalf of the mother, which is the deserved outrage, but apparently some people feel like it's inappropriate to criminalize these innocent little baby children because all they wanted to do was attack a mother and a kid in a stroller and threaten to kill the baby, and that should just be allowed to pass. No, I'm not kidding about this, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
I will also remind you that on Wednesday, October 23rd, I will be live debating in person at the Sovereign House in Lower Manhattan. Registration to attend is free. I'd love for you guys to be there. Link in the top of the description for that registration.
Well, Maxine and Kai, Lydia became the target of a crime when she was actually trying to help another mother and daughter, and just how little these kids are in this video.
So right off the top, I just want to say that if you're in the city of Baltimore at all, for any reason whatsoever, then you should leave the city of Baltimore. That is the best sage advice I will give throughout the course of this video. That is the end of my TED Talk right here. And I say that even acknowledging the fact that the new district attorney of Baltimore, Ivan Bates, that covers this particular area, who replaced Marilyn Mosby, has improved the crime situation there substantially, and I've given him credit in the past for that. That being said, Baltimore is Baltimore. This kind of stuff is definitely going to happen, but here you have a woman that is completely unjaded by the situation, who decided to do the right thing and ended up suffering the consequences of it.
Along the waterfront in the Canton neighborhood.
Look how clean it is.
Lydia was out for a walk with her 11-month-old daughter.
Usually I walk along the waterfront so she can look at all the ducks and the geese and the boats.
That's when she noticed two juveniles harassing another mom and her daughter sitting on a bench. That's when she took out her phone to document it.
Now look, I understand that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people on the left side of the political spectrum, see a white woman doing the right thing, noticing black criminality, and immediately think to themselves, hey, you know what? I believe we have a Karen situation right here, and we need to stop the evil white racism of said Karen. But the facts of this case are pretty clear, pretty straightforward. These juveniles were harassing a mother and her child. You have another mother and her child seeing this, deciding that she wants to document this, and then they end up confronting her.
You see on like all the Facebook neighborhood groups, does anybody have any photos? Does anybody have any pictures of like this happened and we were attacked?
And that's when the two juveniles turned their attention to Lydia.
They're like, give me your phone. I was like, no, you can't have this phone.
Demanding she delete the picture, but things only went from bad to worse.
And by the way, there were threats also thrown in, people threatening to snap the neck of the daughter of the first mother, which is just absurd. But again, these kids are completely out of control, and part of the reason for that is that there are no real consequences for youth offenders, even with the changeover to Ivan Bates, because of the way that the laws were set up in the city of Baltimore.
They were threatening, harassing her, and said, you're lucky we don't snap your baby's neck, and a bunch of other things.
The pair taking aim at Lydia's baby. Lydia ran inside Bayside Cantina, hoping to get help.
So this woman gets confronted by these kids. They end up saying that they want the phone, delete the photo. You're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. Just thug behavior that we can come to expect in a place like Baltimore. So she ends up retreating to this restaurant in the city of Baltimore in order to avoid them. And as she's entering, they fling a bottle at her.
They tried to throw a bottle at me when I entered.
Here she is, seen on the restaurant surveillance video, not far behind the two very small juveniles.
Like I was asking for help. They immediately tried to put themselves between me and the kids.
Bayside staff quickly coming to her rescue, forcing the kids out before calling the police. The ordeal leaving Lydia with thoughts of what could have been.
So as you can see, she enters the store and the juveniles are following her into the store. Again, no fear of consequences at all whatsoever, even though this is a woman with her baby stroller, because these kids don't care. They think they're above everything, and they're already practicing for their eventual lives of crime, and that's absolutely shameful and disgusting. But fortunately, in this particular scenario, the staff of this particular restaurant see a woman being harassed and decide that they want to intervene. They end up getting between this woman and her attackers, and guess what? They force them out of the store.
Said you don't want to have to attack or harm a child to protect your own child, but I definitely I definitely would have. Like, I would have done anything to protect her.
Now, look, I give credit to everyone except for these two young thugs in this particular case, because you have the staff of this restaurant deciding to intervene. Obviously, third-party interventions can oftentimes not work out for the interveners, but they don't care. They're not going to allow this to go down in their particular restaurant, and they shoo these kids away. But the mom herself is saying, look, I don't want to be in a scenario where I have to hurt children in order to protect my child, but to be clear, I 100% would. And the crazy thing is that these kids, we don't even know if they were arrested, and if they were arrested, they likely would have been turned over to the custody of their parents, or parent more likely, and there would be no consequences for their actions. And this is why we have a repeating cycle of youth violence in the city of Baltimore. But I do give credit to this woman for saying, you know what, I was gonna come after these kids if they decided to keep coming after my actual baby.
Now, like many others, this mom is wanting more when it comes to accountability.
I don't know what that looks like. Definitely like some sort of punishment, some sort of disciplinary action. It just seems that there's no real consequence or no real path to help guide them away from doing, aggressive, like threatening violence, stuff like that.
So right here, you have a normal person who was concerned for somebody in their community. She was concerned for her own child, and she ends up giving us a very normie reaction to this whole particular ordeal, where she says, look, you might be able to hurt someone else, but you're going to end up ruining your life if you do so.
Meanwhile, as a mother, she has a message for the kids that were looking to do her and her daughter harm.
You could hurt somebody else, but you're going to ruin your life too if you do something, and especially if you continue to do it and then you're an adult. Then you do have consequences.
Now, unfortunately for this woman, she doesn't know where she lives, and that's why she needs to leave the city of Baltimore, because had those kids attacked her and her baby, had they done it viciously and on video, they would have gotten the same slap on the wrist that they would get if they were arrested just for the harassment and throwing the bottle. Again, Baltimore is very soft on youth offenders. We've done stories about how kids have stolen cars multiple times in a day, and the police are obligated to just drop the kid right back off at their home, and then they go out and commit more and more crimes. So she's wrong about the fact that they would ruin their lives. In fact, it is more likely, if she were to defend herself, that she would face significant consequences for that self-defense, especially based on the racial politics going on in this particular city.
Taking criminals out of our kids. You know what I'm saying? And they're growing up now young thinking that they can get away with the little things. But when you threaten a lady with a baby...
Now, look, the local news affiliate actually did a second follow-up segment to this where they talked to average everyday residents of Baltimore about this particular incident and what they would do. And very disappointingly, this white guy was talking about, oh, how it depends, and they're just little bebe innocent kids, and ended up giving the other side, the woke side of this conversation.
Fox 45 showed the video to this father.
I've got two little ones. I would say my wife would be scared.
And asked if the size of the juveniles matters based on the claims of a physical assault and a verbal threat.
It just depends on the situation.
Now, that being said, I do think it's absolutely crucial for you guys to understand that there are still normal people in the city of Baltimore. There are rational people in the city of Baltimore, and there are people who understand the gravity of the actions of these kids, and this near 70-year-old black guy is one of those people.
I've been living here 70 years, and I ain't thought about moving up until this would happen.
Pender says current juvenile crime laws are setting up juveniles to fail.
You making criminals out of these young kids because they feel that they got the opportunity now. Oh, I'm gonna get out the hour.
It has a message for two very powerful parents.
I'm putting it on their doorstep, the governor and the mayor. If that was your daughter or your kid got hurt, what in the hell would you do?
So obviously this is a sentiment that we've heard a lot from older people in a lot of these urban areas that have seen crime spikes in recent years, which is the youth are completely out of control, and it is the lack of consequences for them that allow them to be out of control, but it's something very concerning to him. Now, in a different part of this interview, he says something about how he is thinking about leaving Baltimore for the first time in 70 years, already passing my test for what you should do if you ever find yourself in the city of Baltimore. But his reaction to those kids, and when he hears what they said to these mothers, priceless.
Size does not matter. If you do a crime, that's it.
But not everyone, like Larry Pender, agrees.
They say they're going to snap the kid's neck. If that was my wife or my daughter or my mother or whoever, I would smack out of me because it's not fair.
Now again, I don't condone physical violence at all whatsoever. Obviously, you are allowed to defend yourself, but again, follow the rules in your jurisdiction so you don't end up facing the consequences. But it's such a stark difference from somebody who's old school, somebody who thinks about this rationally, who sees themselves aligned with the victim rather than with the criminal, because obviously this is what you would say, this is what you would feel, and this is likely what you would do if your child was being threatened in this way, if your wife was being threatened in this way, regardless of the youth of the kids within reason. Obviously, if it's like a 4-year-old, it's not that big of a deal, but these kids were old enough to start committing crimes. They're old enough to start threatening people, old enough and bold enough to pursue this woman into a restaurant, feeling like they were above everything. And yeah, maybe some consequences do need to be leveled against them, and I prefer that those consequences be dealt out through the criminal justice system. But obviously, if you are under attack by these youths in that particular scenario, according to the laws in your jurisdiction, you have a right to defend yourself. But the sentiment makes me laugh. The way he just says it so boldly, especially again after they interview another guy who's like, oh my god, they're little baby children. To me, I just love it. I give it credit. Now, of course, I'm going to open up the floor to you guys out there in the audience. What would you do in this particular scenario? And as usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about youth violence in Baltimore. Till next time.